This episode of AI Success Cast is brought to you by the AI to Human copywriting system. Are you ready to crack the code and discover how to add your unique passion and energy to your AI-generated copy without all those tired, cringy AI words and phrases you see all over the place now? Visit AI2humancopy.com to merge the speed of AI with your authentic human heart and watch your sales soar.
Welcome to AI Success Cast, the quintessential podcast for entrepreneurs, marketers, and tech enthusiasts that shows you how to innovate, inspire, impact, and integrate the transformative power of artificial intelligence into your businesses and professional life. This is where technology meets human ambition. The future of AI becomes an accessible reality, and listeners like you are empowered to rewrite your success story in the age of AI. Be sure to visit our website at aisuccesscast.com, and while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now get your notepad ready, make yourself comfortable, and prepare to be powerfully prompted toward profit. All right, welcome back into the AI Success Cast. I'm Andy O'Brien. It's great to have you on for another session. I'm really excited about this one in particular because I've known this guy for over 20 years. He's a 45-year entrepreneur, speaker, trainer, advisor, and #1 Wall Street Journal, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon best-selling author. His name, Mitch Axelrod. Mitch has delivered 3,500 seminars, workshops, keynotes, executive briefings, coaching clinics to more than 1 million people on business, entrepreneurship, sales, leadership, values, intellectual property, and life skills. And he's appeared in dozens of media and taught at NYU, USC, Notre Dame, and Harvard. He's helped his clients generate $3 billion in revenue, and Mitch has actually helped me to launch a service 20 years ago called Audio Motivation. I was kind of at my wit's end in this dead-end sales job, and I was like, what am I going to do? I had left my corporate job of 12 years. I was just paying the bills with this gig I was doing after that, and I got Mitch on the phone because I had just, I don't know, I was at the end of my rope. And so I was like, I need some advice. And Mitch said, why don't you do like an interview show and charge for it and interview motivational speakers? And that's what happened. And I 100 interviews later, it was a real booming success. And so we've kind of come full circle, Mitch. I mean, after all these years, it's great to see you, and now I want to get your wisdom on AI because that's what I'm doing. But having talked to you in the last few weeks, it's not necessarily what you're doing. So I really want to get your take on it all. So welcome.
That's great. It's good to see you. It's good. It's wonderful to see your career arc, and I'm so happy to have just made a contribution. So I'm excited about this. It definitely is going to go in a little different direction than probably most people would expect. So
yeah, I can't wait, man. So when AI first launched in like November of 2022, I had kind of jumped in like in the deep end right away, as did some others, but a lot of people waited, took a wait and see attitude. What did you do? And how has it progressed in your career?
Well, I have to confess right up front, I have actually never once used AI.
That's awesome.
I guess we can end the interview right now, but I do have a perspective. And my associates have used it. My clients have used it. So I see what it could do. But I say add. In 45 years, I have heard everything. If you don't do this in the next 5 years, you're going to be out of business.
Right.
And I'm still standing. However, it wasn't until literally I saw your authenticity unleashed that I said, okay, now I understand what this can do. Because everybody was flooding me with, and it was like so hot. And I'm like, I'll step back. Okay. And I'll let the herd rush past me and let's see if they run off a cliff. And if they don't, great. I'll just get into the herd when everybody's figured it out. And because I'm not a systems guy.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2004, I wrote a book called The New Game of Business. And the new game of business, chapter 2, it's not just business, it's personal. The new game of business was all about conscious, compassionate collaboration and to have a two-way conversation with your buyers, as opposed to the old game, which was a one-way communication, just send out the information.
Yeah.
And the big shift, and it was basically a chronicle of what was happening. The big shift was from transactions to transformation, and from buying and selling to an experience. And all of a sudden, companies like Starbucks, I remember Starbucks saying, our customers have given us permission to extend the experience. I read that in a periodical. I said, what? They sell coffee. No, they don't. They started selling DVDs at the counter. All right. What they realized early on, before the wave of experience became popular, was that the market was moving away from transactions to long-term customer value. And so in 2014, I wrote The New Game of Selling. Now, we've been teaching it for 20 years, and that's what's created $3 billion of revenue. And the idea was people are tired of being sold at, talked at. They actually want to be guided to make a good buying decision. So that's the premise of The New Game of Selling. Now, this year, to complete the trilogy, we're coming out with the new game of service, which is how to keep, multiply, and reactivate more customers. So my business has always been, it's a human business. And so it's good to see that you kind of acknowledge it and leading the charge with authenticity. So I really appreciate it. And it totally turned me around in terms of my view of AI.
Oh, good. And I noticed that you're doing these every 10 years. Was that by design or just coincidence?
It's just coincidence. Well, the first two were 10 years, so I figured I, have to do the trilogy. So, but we've been coaching, teaching, training companies, individuals on how to turn service, how to replace marketing with service, and how to turn service into a profit center, whether you're a small, company, solo practitioner, or a big company. And then you change the dynamic of the company. Because if you think about it, marketing is expense, right? You market to get a customer. Sales is income. And then you have to deliver and serve. And in a lot of cases, service is an expense department. Now, again, with individuals, it's different, but even in small business. But if you can convert service into a profit center, you can have now two income centers, sales and service. And you can actually reduce your marketing spend. So we show companies how to mine what they've already spent money to produce. And basically, you've got gold in their house, from the prospective clients that didn't convert all the way through to existing, past, dormant, inactive. And that doesn't include referrals, testimonials, endorsements, potentially joint ventures. I nested in an insurance company for 5 years. They paid me for 5 years. Actually, they spent $100,000 to produce my training program. So there's a real shift as I see it. And I'm sure now that I've got your mentality about this, I see how AI could really facilitate people to play the new game of service.
Yeah, I think it could. And I see AI as more of a partner than some, self-aware monolith that's going to swoop down and take over everything. So, that's not to say that's not going to happen, but I think as of now, this conversation today, so far so good. But you mentioned that your clients are using it. So how are they using it?
Yeah. So a client of mine, every time we meet, she uses Fathom, which I would imagine is a transcription, but it's much more. It's like auto transcribes, for example, right? But this Fathom, and again, I'm not a techie, so I'm just reporting, right?
Right.
The thing breaks out key points, it breaks out sentences, it breaks out quotes. So it makes it much easier for non-content creators. And by the way, most practitioners are not content creators. And I don't want to go on a rant here, but I've got a point of view that too many people are trying to be, quote, entrepreneurs when they're really practitioners or business owners. And those words are used interchangeably, but they shouldn't, because the art of building a practice, psychologist, massage therapist, accountant, attorney, those are all professional practices. You can do really, really well by developing a profitable practice. And you actually control a practice much more than you control a business. Because if you build a business of whatever size beyond yourself and a few people, the business then needs infrastructure, systems, scalability. Now you take off the hat of practitioner, you put the hat of business builder. Majority of people who are practitioners are not equipped, adept, or care to build a business. They just want to build a practice. And eventually, I've seen a lot of businesses over my years. A lot of times, a business starts controlling you. You become the servant of the business.
Right.
Now, 20 years ago, 30 almost, I shared the platform with Michael Gerber. And he had just come out with his book. And, his thing is work on the business, not in the business. Right. Well, business owners can do that because they have other people to deliver. Practitioners have a hard time doing that because they're busy working in the business. And so you create this double mind of I got to set aside time to work on the business. But practices are not like businesses. So I see AI as a huge facilitative tool for people who run practices, better communicate, better market, better serve. They don't have big infrastructure. They're not in the funnel game, right? So deploying AI in different ways is where I say, sometimes not being in it, you can see it from a different point of view.
Yeah.
So observed how it's being used, and I'm seeing how my clients using it. A colleague of mine is using it. So now we run training every week. We have what I call a new game training gym. And my associate uses the same Fathom. And I used to go through the whole thing and review it and time code it, to give feedback, recap it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Fathom recaps it for me.
Right.
Right. So it's bitch, wake up here. And I'm really kind of old school in a way in terms of values and high touch. I think it was 1982, John Naisbitt wrote the book Megatrends. I don't know if you remember way back when.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest megatrends was high tech, high touch. He actually wrote a follow-up book with that title. And he said, with technology and automation emerging, taking over the marketplace, you're separating distance between you and the customer. And he said, so as high tech goes higher, high touch needs to move with it.
Yeah.
And what happened is that when systems and automation took over, so back in 2000, when I wrote the book, The New Game of Business, America started shipping all their service jobs overseas.
Mm-hmm.
And I went on a national radio tour to promote the book. But I wasn't promoting the book. I was railing against American companies sending their service department overseas. Why? Because they saw service as an expense department, not as a profit center or the purpose of their business. So if they could get it done for $5 an hour instead of $10 an hour, that would go right to the bottom line. So you had a whole massive exodus of customer service departments in service-related businesses and product related businesses. And I said, you guys are screwing up your companies because you may save money today, but you're destroying goodwill in your company. And we've all had that experience early in the game. We're talking to somebody who doesn't speak the language and you don't feel like you're being served. Quite the opposite. You're feeling like you're being disserved. So the whole marketplace has moved to where, especially larger businesses, they've automated, and AI fits right into the automation and streamlining and making things easier.
Yep.
And little by little, you're separating yourself from the actual customer. And as you said so eloquently, I love your heart model.
Oh, good.
Oh, it's just really fantastic. And as I was watching it, I'm saying, okay, this really speaks to using AI as a tool to better listen to what your customers are saying, to really empathize, because if you can't walk in your customer's shoes, to sell Jane Jones what Jane Jones buys, you have to see the world through Jane Jones' eyes.
Yeah.
All right. And that's what I've really professed all the years, that if you get into the seat of your buyer and see through their eyes, and then, as you say, adjust and revisit and just now you're engaging in a two-way relationship.
Right.
And buyers trust you more. They believe you more if you ask questions and listen than if you're constantly spewing and talking. And so I see AI as I'm kind of on the receiving end of it. I've been able to see it work and have a perspective of how it really, if deployed in the way that you guide people, it can be a fantastic tool. And it will be. But, as you know, every tool can be used for good or evil.
Yeah.
So it's in the hands of the person using it.
Well, I appreciate what you said about the heart method. That's great. And I'm glad, that's high praise, So when you said with the megatrends example, the more advanced we get, the farther away we get from the customer, that really hit home to me. And I'm thinking, boy, it's so tempting. AI has just laid down all of these wonderful temptations for the entrepreneur to save so much time and just streamline all the processes, but at what cost? At what point are you going to have to step back and say, whoa, I'm losing touch with the people who are driving my livelihood here. And then, hopefully there's no point of no return where you can't try to rekindle that somehow,
Well, again, what's the purpose? Everything should have a purpose. And when you think about it, this kind of leads into another conversation I want to bring up about values. But I want to stick on the point of service for 1 minute, because I think it's in service to others. And then let's face it, no matter what product you sell or service you sell or what issue or cause you represent, surfing is a deep human need to be of service, right? And so all of our tools, all of our mechanization, all of our automation should be utilized in service of people. Not only is service personal, but service is good business. Service should be the ethos and the mission and the core value of the business versus a department. I remember I was consulting. I used to do big corporations exclusively. And I walked in one day and I'm listening to a service VP. And he said to me, Mitch, we have service, but it's a necessary evil. And I just looked at him and like, what? That's because what a pain in the ass customers can be. This guy's sitting in that ivory tower, never interacted with customers, never did belly to belly, face to face. And he's telling me, I would never tell anybody that service is a necessary evil. All right. That's how some people see it, because it comes on the back end of the linear progression: marketing, sales, service. But what happens if you reverse the polarity? What happens if what I did is I hated marketing? I didn't know anything about marketing until I met Jay Abraham in 1989. All right. But for 10 years in my business, I didn't know anything about marketing. So you know what I did? I said, I'm going to turn service into marketing. And I developed something called the second opinion. So I would do seminars, education, and the call to action would be, I'll give you a second opinion. And if my second opinion is worthy of you doing business with me, you'll decide to do business with me. If you don't, you'll get educated, you'll get a diagnosis, and you'll get some value, and maybe you'll introduce me to your friend. That was my marketing.
I remember that.
I carried that over into speaking. I got a corporate client within the first 30 days of my moving into corporate training using the very same method. So I'm trying to make a point here. A lot of our attention is on the front end of relationships and using tools, technology, automation, AI to better bring them in. But I think, I know from experience, you'd be much smarter to deploy your tools on the back end, because there are people already in your past dormant, inactive customer base, maybe on your list, that have gone through another buying cycle and they're ready to buy today. You just don't know it because your attention is on the front end of the game. And that's where I see AI could be phenomenal in terms of keeping in touch with people, and creating a two-way conversation, distilling down. And there's one question that, in my opinion, from experience, my clients have generated over $250 million from one question that led to, why do you do business with us? Why did you buy from me? See, and this relates to AI and marketing. We send out messages and we think we know, but we don't. We don't know why people buy. I'm sitting with a corporate executive 30 years ago. I said, you have consultants coming in out of here all day long. Why did you hire me? He said, Mitch, you're the first guy who came in here and said marketing, sales, and service is one holistic process, and we should break down the barriers between them. They should work together as an integrated process. And as a result, we are now better able to attract, convert, and keep customers. I said, can I say that? He said, yeah. So when people said, Mitch, what do you do? Which everybody's like, I said 4 words. My clients tell me I am really good at helping them attract, convert, and keep and multiply customers. Which of those would you like to do more or better right now? And I got that from being humble enough to go back and ask in language that the buyer. So AI can facilitate all that on the front end, on the back end. And so now, having seen your frame of reference, authenticity, I'm jazzed. I'm psyched because 4 years ago I had a stroke, so I still can't type. But the idea that I could dictate and have that spit back to me with so much detail and precision, so it's a facilitative tool, and I see big things for it. Thanks, mostly important to your perspective.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm just blown away that it kind of come to that, and I love the fact that you took a perspective of kind of a wait and see approach, but not waiting passively. You were observing, like from a productive standpoint, like kind of as a student of how best to utilize AI when the time comes, or if I mean the time may never come, but the right things could fall into place that would facilitate you doing it, and kind of diving in. And AI does have a dictation feature, where it can, where you don't need to type. So that's great, that it can do that.
Well, and just think for all people who are in some way disabled or non-creative, you can use something and it could help you get your message out. And practitioners especially, I keep coming back to it because 70, 80% of people in the world who go into business, aside from people who build a business, are in some way practitioners. And they're not necessarily good. That's why they spend so much money on coaching, because they're not really good at bringing customers, I had to learn. I had no choice. I didn't have the tools that we had today.
Right.
But I think that was good for me because I understood the imperative of that no tool, no automation, no technology can replace human beings. And that leads me into a very important, if we have a couple more minutes.
Yeah, sure.
30 years ago, I was introduced to a science called axiology. Axiology is the science of human value. And it's a three-dimensional model. And when I was introduced to this, I understood so much about the business world, among other things. So this three-dimensional model says that we have three dimensions in the world, and they're called intrinsic, extrinsic, systemic. Crazy word. But let me define them because this is such a profound insight. Systemic value is basically concepts and ideas. So AI form rules, policies, protocol, business plan, architectural designs. They're all on paper or in our head. There's nothing real. You can't drive the concept of a car. You can't live in the architectural design of a house. And believe it or not, you cannot build a business from the strict parameters of a business plan. Why? Because once you come out of the concept world, systemic, and you go into the real world, extrinsic, where real things happen, everything is imperfect. So all houses have imperfections, cars, businesses. So in the real world, things are much more valuable than in the concept world. But you get to the most valuable of all, and that's intrinsic value. And what separates intrinsic value is it's unique. So how does it relate to business and AI? Well, if you substitute the words love, serve, and obey. In other words, we love, our soul loves. So I use the word soul, role, goal, love, serve, and obey. So we love people, we serve practical things, and then we obey the rules, the policies, the procedures, the system. Now, here's the profound implications. The question is, which way does the arrow go? Meaning, is the system serving the people, or are the people now serving the system? Right? Now, all systems were created in mind with the idea to serve people. However, have you ever been stuck on hold for 2 minutes waiting for somebody to answer the phone? Or have you been through a maze of online chats that result in you not getting the answer you need? Okay. Business has gotten to the point now where systems have so taken over the mindset of businesses, and AI included, that systems are no longer, in many cases, serving people. The people are subjugated to serving the system. And then when that happens, in any context, business, personal, you have what's known as an inversion of value. If it gets to the point where the system actually hurts, harms, injures the people, it's a perversion of value, and it's called systemic abuse. So when you realize that if all your systems, if they're not serving the people, they're disserving the people. They're lowering trust. They're putting obstacles in the way. And the problem is we don't know it as business owners because we're trying to streamline our services and our systems. So I sat in the seat of a buyer for the past 18 months or 2 years with AI. I said, if I'm going to really understand how I can harness this, if I harness it, I'm going to sit in the seat of the buyer, not the seller, and get a view from the buyer's point of view so that when I deploy it, and it was a matter of when, not if, I would deploy it in service to humans. And that's what I loved about your whole humanization and humanity. AI is intelligence. Intelligence is the mind. It's logic. It's reasoning. It's organization. And it has no soul. It has no intuition. It has no humanity. It has no instinct. And so the way you beautifully kind of distorted against the red flags that you brought up, that AI it's a mechanization.
Right.
And people know intuitively if something is communicating them that doesn't have soul, that doesn't have heart. So I think in a way you are the missing link, the message you're bringing. And to filter everything we do in our business is this loving and serving the customer. So I'll conclude with this. When the new Game of Selling came out, I was interviewed for Bestseller TV. And I said, there's one sentence, believe it or not, if a company, a business, a practice, an individual could embrace, embody, and live out, could totally transform a company. And if they could live out of this, they could figure out the rest. And that's this sentence. When given the choice between forcing your customer to obey your rules, your policies, your procedures, your protocol, or loving and serving the customer, love and serve the customer. Even if it means breaking the rules, going against policy, doing a different procedure. Now you think about companies like Four Seasons hotels. They give their employees free rein, from the people who clean up the house to the people who vacuum the floors, to spend money up to $100 or more to help a customer without the repercussions of, hey, why did you do that? Because their ultimate objective is love and serve the customer. Don't worry, you're not going to be punished for breaking our rules. And so if you could filter that mentality and that paradigm through your whole organization and then say, okay, everything we do should be to love and serve the customer, and then they'll love and serve us back, and we can build our business 20, 30, 40, 50% through our relationship capital, our long-term customer value, and reduce our marketing spends where all of the noise is. All of the noise is in extrinsic, because there's no business that you don't have competition at some level, extrinsically. But when you discover your uniqueness, whether you're a big business or a practitioner, they come to you because you're unique, different, better, nicer, kinder, more trustworthy. So AI can play a phenomenal role in constructing, if you have to, or deconstructing and reconstructing your business around a bias for service. And I call that the new game of service.
And when is that coming out, Mitch?
Later this year, but we're teaching it, we're practicing it, we're bringing it to organizations. I do training every week for solopreneurs and to teach them basically, you got gold in your hands. And if you just, put your eye on service, that and what makes you unique, and you can't find that out from being in here. You can only find it out from your customers. And then once you discover that, now you have what makes you unique. You're not in the sea of sameness.
Mm-hmm. Sea of sameness. I love that. And, I really think people ask me sometimes, what I think is the future of AI and to look ahead. And sometimes I ask my guests that, and I really think it's going to come full circle where we come back to the humanity of it and we rediscover our own humanity in the way we market and speak to our customers and we reclaim that the humanity that we may have lost in this odyssey, that AI just came on the scene and rocked everybody's world and we just can't get lost in that. It's really a slippery slope, because as a customer, we don't want to experience AI. We really don't. We, as a consumer, we are just like sick of it already. But marketers love it. Business owner, hey, look at all this time I'm saving. It's like, no, let's step back and think about this. And I think what you're doing with this episode and your work is going to help that, to speed up that process. So I really appreciate you, your philosophy on all this. And I can't wait till a new game of service comes out. I'm telling you,
well, we've got, I guess about 18 or 25 modules already in our training that does people from the moment you get a new client or customer, how you can build that relationship out so that the customer wants to help you. To me, it really comes back to, it's not just business, it's personal. And if we can just get out of our own heads and our own methods of doing things and really get into sitting, I think it would be smart for every business to talk to their customers like we are and say, how can we use this tool to help you get what you want better? Not just say, hey, it's going to make our company more efficient. Yeah, okay, that's good. And be more productive and lower expensive and all. And for people who are not as expressive, it's a great thing because you can just dictate, how you would talk privately with nobody listening and get a machine to give you back a structure and a construct that can better help you convey your value. So it's a phenomenal tool. But again, I come at everything try not to come at it from the way I think it could be done, but how can it help me serve people better and streamline our life? So I think you're right on the money and you're at the cusp of something very big.
Oh, good. It's good to know that from someone besides AI, because AI is such a yes man. It tells me what I want to hear. I'm like, am I on the right track with this? He's like, and it's like, oh yeah, this is great. So it's nice to hear it from you, especially because you've been such a guidepost over the years, and it's just great that you were able to come on this show. And so, Mitch, where can people go to learn more about what you're all about?
I send them to thenewgameofselling.com. I have a 19-minute video there where I take people through all 6 steps, or what I call 6 leverage points in your business. They can download our entire playbook and see what we have. I also have an intake form there that people can fill out, submit it, and I will spend 15, 20 minutes with you, giving you a second opinion and I'm waiving the fee on that just to get people to come and say, hey, what can I do? And then one other site I would recommend is soulrollgoal.com, and roll is spelled ROLE, soulrollgoal.com. And there I have a studio version of my talk at Harvard, which was the soul roll goal of leadership. And I talk about this value science and how important it is to put humanity ahead of vanity and insanity. What I like to say.
That's
like
great.
The vanity of our egos and the insanity of a new tool, But yeah, I'm all about humanity. So soulrollgoal.com, some great stuff there. And then newgameofselling.com.
Mitch Axelrod, boy, it's so great to have you on here to get your perspective on all of this. For everybody to just breathe. Let's take a step back, take a look at AI from a bird's eye perspective instead of constantly being in the trenches with it. So I really appreciate your insights, and I wish you great success with the new book and the new program.
Thank you, Andy. It's great reconnecting, and really, truly, and I know a lot of people in the industry, and I'm Rub Show and all that, and nobody got me excited about this, because I'm a kind of like, yeah, I've seen it all come and go, and I'll hop in there. But when I watched your authenticity release, unleashed, I said, okay, you got it. Years ago, I wrote an article called Inauthentic Authenticity, the Rise of False Transparency and Contrived Vulnerability. I was like, okay, everybody's being authentic and vulnerable and transparent. If that's the case, what were you being before you were being transparent and vulnerable and authentic? So, but it is authentic. And I think in that context, in that frame of reference, if you keep that mindset, how can this help me convey my expression of who I really am and what our company is really meant to do for you? It's right on the money. So thank you for having me.
Sure thing. All right. Hey, until next time, Mitch, thanks so much. Take care. Thank you for tuning into AI Success Cast, where you gain the tips, tools, and tactics that prompt you to easily innovate, inspire, impact, and integrate the transformative power of artificial intelligence in your business and professional life. Remember to visit our website at aisuccesscast.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on AI Success Cast.